Uh-oh.
I'm there.
Okay, good. Okay, well, good afternoon. Welcome to Match Day, Ian. My name is Vince. I'm here with Ian Barker, and with us today are Casey and Alex Shafer, and they are both from Pennsylvania. And Casey is the dad, and Alex is the son. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you very much, both, for having us.
Thank you. Coach Barker, is there any way you can...
I'm not quite sure why we don't have the guys on a bigger picture, but this might be as good as we're going to get today, but that's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Did you try to load a slide deck, Vince?
No, I did not. I have no idea what's happening. All right, it's fine. We're good. Yep. We'd like to maximize you two because you two are definitely better looking. But so thank you so much and for coming on and sharing your time. And happy belated Father's Day. Hope you had a good Father's Day weekend.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Same to you both as well.
Thank you. Now, is Alex your only child, or do you have?
I also have a 5-year-old daughter, Kalina. She's not a soccer fan. She's a dancer, but
right.
she's a special part of our family as well.
Oh, absolutely. No. They're all limited editions, right?
That's 100% correct.
They're all special editions. So thank you very much for coming on. We're going to try and I don't know I think we're going to end up with this view the whole time, but I really am so glad that Alex is joining us because we're going to get the view of what soccer looks like from a 10-year-old, and us old people, we think we know what kids want. We think we know why kids quit, but I'd like to hear from you. So, and there might be some questions in the chat box. So, and Alex, you are our youngest guest ever. So it's awesome. But Coach Barker, I'll let you start with the questions, and then I'll go from there.
Well, Alex, thank you for joining us. Your dad, I think, has been on most of the match days, listening in and typing in questions. And I know a little while ago you started joining in. You said that there's been a couple you've enjoyed, even though they're quite adult topics. What were the ones that do you remember? Kind of what the topics were you enjoyed listening about?
I enjoy everyone, honestly.
Anything about soccer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've been talking a lot about return to play. Are you in the Westmont Club? Are you back on the fields now?
No, not yet.
Okay. And have they told you what it will be like when you go back yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. And you have no deadlines or timelines yet?
Well, August 1st so far.
Yeah, we're still in the yellow phase here. So they're anticipating us being in the green phase by late June, early July. So that's when we anticipate a return to on-field activities with the social distancing limitations and those type of criteria.
I will say this on a personal note. I'm glad that Pennsylvania is being quite conservative on the basis of what we hear around the country. So, Alex, what have you been doing physically? Do you have a backyard that you can play in or a park?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me some of the things that you do to keep your skills up by yourself, with your dad, with your sister, whatever it is.
Well, I like to work on shooting with my mom and my dad because I need to improve on that because this year 3 of our top players are leaving, and then I think this will open up a big opportunity for me to go up and attacking because I'm normally a center defensive mid, so I'm very excited for this year. I like to do IntelliGym.
Yeah.
I like to work on awareness with an app called Column B where I like to check my shoulder and yell out like the color or number it's at. And I like to work on ball mastery and passing.
Very good. So Column B, is that the recommendation?
Yes.
An app called Column B. Vince will type that in the chat box. So I have done IntelliGym. We was recommended to us on a match day, and the guy who there's a gentleman in Israel, and the technology is from the Israeli Air Force. It's how they train pilots. So he set me up with IntelliGym, and I did the first half hour, and I didn't come like last in the world. I was in the pack somewhere, but I emailed him and I said my head hurt afterwards, and he said it's because you're not 18 or younger. He says that guys like you can do it. But it's kind of fun, isn't it? Because it's just a video game, and they believe that it'll help you with your awareness, right?
Yes.
I saw it in Southampton Football Club in the Premier League, And they told me that the best person they'd ever had on it, ever, was Ryan Giggs, who used to play for Man United and was one of the greatest players 15 years ago. So definitely being good at IntelliGym translates to being a good footballer. There is a connection for sure. So why do you like to shoot on your mum? Is she not a very good goalie and it helps you with your confidence? What's the idea of that?
Well, she's not technically goalie. Like, she'll throw up volleys or just roll balls down on the ground for me to turn, like, make a few moves and then take a shot because she's too scared to go in goal.
Okay. What is your dominant foot?
My right foot.
And how much time do you practice right and how much time do you practice left?
I basically go every other, or it depends on what side it'll go on to make a game like.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to guess what advice Vince would give you about that. But Vince, what would you give him advice on the balance between left and right footed in training when he's 10? What would you say?
I mean, work on what you do best, which is striking it with your best foot, right? And then change it up though with going with your non-dominant foot as well, like you're doing. But whatever you do you like always like hit a moving ball?
Yes, or I'll make a move and hit a shot.
Okay, yeah. Good. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I think blending it is great. Or you can get a ball on a wall and you can, right, that can do the same thing too. But go ahead, Coach Parker, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think if you were a little bit older, Alex, we'd probably recommend you focus on your strengths because you may be a college player, right? So sometimes we don't train the college players as much. But if I was working with a young guy like you, I might say 3 out of 5 or 2 out of 3 would be left-footed, because if you can demonstrate in a couple of years that you can just about hit the left-footed shot without thinking like you can the right-footed, you'd be way ahead.
Yep. No, my son, who's been on this, and he was a college player, but when he was 10, I mean, he predominantly was right-footed like you, and so every now and again we go in the backyard and he'd try and shoot some left-footed shots too. But do you play games like that with your dad? Do you play like backyard games with your dad?
Yeah.
Do you play against him?
Yes, mostly.
All right. Do you win?
Always.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Alex, which Premier League games did you watch this week? Have you watched any?
I've watched the Liverpool game so far. I've watched the Tottenham Manchester United game, and that's about it.
Do you record them?
No, I watch them live.
Okay, so the point about left and right footed, there was in the Newcastle game, which they won because Sheffield United had a player sent off. So Newcastle won 3-0. They have a $40 million striker from Brazil who plays up front with the guy who was Atlanta United. And his name is Joe Linton, and he hasn't been doing very well. And he got through on goal, and he ran around to make sure he could kick it with his right foot. And he fell over and missed a really good goal-scoring opportunity. Now, this guy's worth $40 million and really obviously wanted to kick it with his right more than his left. If he could kick it as well with his left-footed, he wouldn't be playing for Newcastle. He'd be at Real Madrid or Barcelona, and he'd be worth $100 million. So even at the top level, there are examples of where players are not two-footed enough. So that would be really good for you. You say you play defensive center mid. In your club, do they give you a number that they assign that position? What's your number on the back of your jersey?
9.
Number 9, okay. And if I said to you, you're wearing number 9 on your back, but I want you to go and play the number 6 position, would you know what that meant?
Yes.
What does that mean for you?
That my jersey is number 9, but you would want me to play center defensive mid.
Very good. So your plan is to wear the number 9 shirt and play in the number 9 position. Is that your plan?
No. Yes, for this year, yeah.
For this year. Okay.
Very good.
Can I ask you another question? So, position related, does your coach move you around to different positions?
Yes, he moves me all around the field.
Okay, good. I'm going to go back to the backyard thing with your dad. Do you guys play like soccer, tennis, anything like that in the basement or anything? Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, we used to take 2 chairs and take a broomstick and we used to play. My son and I, we just kill each other on soccer tennis, and until we got in fights, and then we left. But no, that's good. So it's good, by the way, that your coach has you experiment with different positions. So let's talk about just what do you like about playing soccer, period. Just what are the 2 or the 3 things that you like about playing soccer?
Well, first of all, I like the transition probably the most from going either defense to offense or offense to defense, because it'll help with your stamina and strength on the field, which that I really enjoy. And I like scoring goals.
Of course.
And I like setting up assists probably better than scoring goals.
Ooh, love that. So in basketball, it's called dropping a dime. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, it's called dropping a dime in basketball. It's to give an assist. But there you go. You learned something today, right, on match day. But no, that's good. So you like setting other teammates up, which is a great trait to have. You like scoring goals, which let's face it, everybody does. Even goalkeepers like scoring goals. And, you like it seems like you like running, right? You like just the physical movement and just the running, because if you like transition, you like running.
And I just like being on the ball and having just fun, basically, on the field with my friends, my teammates, and trying to win.
Okay. No, that's good. So what do you like? So what's the most challenging part of playing soccer, or what what don't you like about the game, if anything?
What I don't like is probably what I hate the most is when we're winning 2-0 and then we give up a few goals that I absolutely don't like. And that's basically it. I love basically everything about soccer.
That's good. It's good. So
Casey, I've got a question for Dad. And this, Jeff, we have a guest, Jeff Golding, has a question about you coaching Casey, coaching Alex, and we'll get there. But just real quick, my coworker a number of years ago came in my office and she said, my 3 kids are in park and rec, and because the family's in soccer and because we're pretty athletic as parents, they're completely underwhelmed and under-challenged for park and rec. We're thinking of taking them into travel. And she and I had a really good conversation, and I told her what I would reasonably expect that would look like for her, tryouts and travel and extra expense. And 3 years in, she's got a sophomore in high school, a 9th grader, and they all weekend, the parents have got the 3 kids everywhere. So when you made the commitment to put Alex into travel, what was the extra burden on you as a family in terms, not so much of financial, but travel, time away, sitting down for family? What does it look like for the parent of a 10-year-old?
Yeah, there's no question. It's definitely there's definitely a big investment of your time. Certainly financial commitment as well. But I think the club does a really good job of being practical about the age groups that they're working with. So for the younger players, the 7v7, the 9v9 formats, it's 2 practices a week. It's an hour and 15 minutes for each practice. There are reasonable times, it's not a 9 p.m. or a 10 p.m. practice in the evening during the week. When it comes to the games, most games are, within a 35, 45-minute drive, which is, pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, there's a game that you might have to drive an hour and a half for, which is a little silly for a 60-minute game. But it's every once in a while. It's certainly not all the time. The tournaments can be a full weekend commitment sometimes, but honestly, he really enjoys it, and I'm involved with other teams as well, coaching, and it's just something that I think we can kind of bond over and enjoy that experience together. And we try to keep it reasonable and make sure that he also has time to pursue other interests outside of just soccer.
What age was Alex when you were coaching him, and then what was the decision to move him to another coach? How did that work for you?
It worked out really well. So I worked with him when he was a peewee, and maybe that first year of travel, he was a younger player. He was a 7-year-old playing up on a U9 team of mine, and it was great. I think it was a special experience that we had, a special bond. I have a lot of good memories. But I think, talking with experienced coaches and coaches that were more knowledgeable than myself, and like Coach Vince was mentioning earlier about his experience with his son, there were definitely recommendations to, hey, this would be a good opportunity to let your son have the growth experience of playing for a coach that wasn't his dad. And it might be better for you too, not to have to worry about being a parent and a coach at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think it was a good break. It was a good opportunity there. And there's things that I definitely miss about being his full-time coach, but it's also really fun to just show up for the weekend and watch him play as his dad.
Yeah.
It's really I'm glad you're a historian. I hope there are more examples like you. I fear that there are actually not enough of people that have continued to coach within the club because they're comfortable, let's say in your case, at the under-9 age group, that peewee group, even though you don't have a child on the team, because I'm guessing occasionally you might miss Alex's training or you might miss his game because you have your team commitment, but you're still involved. Too often, I think a lot of our guests and our attendees will say, we love parent coaches, but they won't stay with us as coaches when their kid graduates up because rightly they want to watch their child play. So I'm glad that Westmont has you as an example, and I hope there are more examples in the club for sure.
So, Alex, I'm going to ask you, first off, here's a suggestion for your coach, but you got to figure out how you want to present it. So you don't like when you're when you're up 2-0, right? And the other team comes back and they tie it. So whenever I do small-sided games or any types of games, the goals in training, the team that scores last in a tie wins, right? So if you were in practice and you were down 2 goals and the other team and your team scored 2 goals to tie it up, your team would win.
Okay.
So what's that doing?
It's basically like keeping your energy up and like never quitting, so you always have a chance to come back.
Yeah, because even though you tied, sometimes when you're ahead and the other team comes back, right, you felt like you lost, but you didn't lose, right? Just like kissing your little sister, right? It's just like, it's nice, but okay, right? But so figure out a way to tell that to your coach. Maybe he'll listen to this thing. But and then speaking of practice, do you have like a favorite activity that you like to do, like your coach does or your dad did, or is there like a favorite activity that you do besides scrimmage, besides playing the game?
I would probably say a drill called rapid fire. That's probably my favorite.
So how's that go?
So you have 2 lines by the post and then 2 lines directly in front of them. So that's teams. The right side is a team. The left side is a team. The right side, you could either have a permanent goalie or you could be rotating. You would start with the goalie from the other team, and then your team, the defender, the line behind the posts would have all the ball. They would pass the attacking side. You would take a touch and a shot, and then the person that took a shot would go in goal, and then the other defending line would pass the ball as soon as the other person shot it, and then they would take shots, and then it would keep going.
So what do you like about it?
You just always have to be on your toes and thinking. You have to be thinking about the next play, not the current play.
Awesome. And obviously you like scoring goals, right, too?
Yeah.
And is there a competition part to it? You know what I mean? Like, right? Because you want to compete.
Yes. My focus is to score goals and do my best. Well, it's basically to do my best.
Awesome. That's great.
So, Alex, I got a quick question for you. When would you guess that in soccer all over the world, the most goals are scored? What moments in the game would you guess?
Probably later in the game, I would say.
Yeah, and that's if you count up goals in top level football, and people don't count as much in youth soccer, but that's typically right? The end of the first half and the end of the second half, a lot. So why do you think that is?
Because the defenders are tired after playing like 45 minutes. Yep. And then the attackers have, if they're more fresh or didn't use as much energy, have more energy against them, they use speed and they can explode away probably.
So they get physically tired. How else do you think they might get tired?
Mentally.
Yeah. So I don't know your team very well. I mean, it might be that you guys score 2 goals and you go celebrating like crazy people, right? And it may be that you're super fit for half an hour, but then you're not very fit for the last half an hour. But when you have a situation like you explained, where sometimes you have a nice lead and then they catch up on you. Sometimes it might be more in the head of the team because you take your foot off the pedal, right? You're still running around, but you're not running. So we might, like if it was our team, we might talk to you and we might, like from the sideline, when you score the second goal and you're all high-fiving, we might be doing this kind of thing, just reminding you to stay focused. So when you're looking at it and talking to your coach and talking to your dad, think about if it's fitness, if it's because you get cocky, it's because you switch off mentally, but there's going to be a reason for it, and you can train it and make it correctable for sure.
Okay.
That's great. So, Alex, anything you want to say here at the end? You've given us 5 more minutes than we've asked of you. So any other thing that you'd like to say?
I just have a few questions for you guys.
Oh, all right, let's do it.
So
we didn't
what
pay
can
for
you
that.
recommend to a young player like me that plays midfield and attacking to work on and develop?
Ooh. Go ahead, Coach Barker, and I'll add in.
Well, the number one thing, you're 10, you have an amazing enthusiasm, okay? So the number one thing is if you've got a club that says 2 trainings for 75 minutes, and that sounds awesome, and you're only traveling 30 minutes because you live in a good area where you don't have to travel a lot, for me, that's going to keep you enthusiastic and happy. So yeah. I would not send you to every soccer camp and not have you in every training. I think what you're doing right now is magic. And what's been good about COVID for you is you've been working on your technical training at home with your mom and your dad. And the number one thing for you to improve is technique, right? So using the IntelliGym and using column B. And then the top goal scorers and the top assist getters, people like Steven Gerrard, who scored goals but got lots of assists from midfield. Or trying to think of an American example, Landon Donovan got goals and got assists, right? Is they had a very positive mentality all the time, because probably for every 5 shots you have, only, well, let's say 10 shots, 2 go on target and 1 goes in. So you've got to have that positive attitude. And if you fail, you have a shot and it doesn't go well. If you look at your shoes because you're mad and it bounces off the defender and comes back to you, you've lost that opportunity, or you've put a negative thought in your head. So for me, it's sort of try again, but have the basis of technique. So if you realize in a game that you don't shoot with your left foot, then next time, give it a go in training, practice. And Cristiano Ronaldo, why he was kind of famous at United was not because he was the best player, which he was, or because he was very good looking like Vince, which he was. It was because Ronaldo, they tell the story that Ronaldo was always the first one to go out.
Yep.
And after training was done, he would just spend not an hour, but like 10 minutes and hit 10 extra balls. So imagine if you just hit 5 extra balls after training. The coach gives you 5 minutes. Little bite-sized pieces, huge. Doesn't have to be 10 days of training straight. It's more like little 5-minute bits here and there. But technique.
Yep. Just to piggyback on that, I mean, my son, when he was your age, was what's called a 5-yard radius player. Do you know what that means?
No.
He wasn't going outside 5 yards to get a ball. He just wasn't. He hates it when I tell this story. But he was really good with his feet and his touch. Incredible. So eventually he grew, and he grew into his body. And because his feet were so good, his touch was so good, he was so comfortable with the ball, he was actually pretty successful later on. But he used to get discouraged, I remember, because he was slower than the other kids. But luckily, like your dad, I stepped away and I gave him to a person that I used to coach in high school. I coached this young man when he was a high school kid. He came back to the community and I said, "Hey, do you want to coach my son's team?" He said, "Yeah." So I gave him to him, and he did the same thing, right? But just exactly what Coach Barker said, just technique. Like strike the ball off the wall. See how many times you can do it. 60 seconds, right? Time yourself 60 seconds. Or if you got a curb, curb at home, just pass the ball against the curb and it'll bounce up a certain way. Figure out how to control it. Those little things will go a long way. And like what Coach Barker said, just always stay positive and never say, I can't do it. If you're going to say that, I can't do it yet. Right.
I've got one quick question for you, and then I'm going to let you ask a couple more if you've got a couple more. Why do you think Vince asked you if you hit a moving ball in training? Why do you think he asked you that?
Because it would be more game realistic if you did. Because if you hit a dead ball, it would just be working on free kicks and penalties and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So imagine you put your mum in goal, and you're taking a shot, and you prepare it with the first touch, and then you take the second shot, right? If you can make it touch hit instead of touch step hit, if you can speed up the distance, that you can make it shorter, the release with a shorter backswing. Now you're only 10, so you're physically not mature enough yet to get full power. But you watch Aguero, who's on television in the other room, you never see him wind up. It's always bang bang. That would be a really good thing to practice.
Okay.
All right. So one more question, I guess, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay. What are your favorite team building activities?
Whew. Wow.
I'll answer that real quick. So, Alex, I was in Florida. I had 23 boys from Hawaii and Florida and Maine and Philadelphia, and they didn't really know each other. So we had some round tables, and I said, if you're from the East Coast, I want one from the East Coast on every table. I want one from the West on every table. So we did that. Then we said to them, introduce yourselves, and then tell me one thing about the guy that you just met. So the boy from Hawaii had to just say, this is Alex from Philadelphia, and he plays number 6. And then we did some things like we gave them little postcards, plain white cards, and we had them write little fun facts and then kind of trade them. So for me, team building is all about creating environments where the players talk to each other. And we manage that. The coaches manage it, but it's not the coach in the middle talking to the boys. It's like, boys, here's some topics, because if I just said to 15 boys that are 16 years old, go talk about something, they're not ready for it, right? So you have to give them some ideas. But I like anytime I can get my players in small groups, and then they share back what's happened with the whole group.
Yep. So that's kind of the same thing, same lines as what I'm going to say. So have you ever had an activity where your coach gives you a sheet of paper and they say, all right, you and a group of friends make a team of dogs and put them on the piece of paper. Ever had that done? Ever done that one? Well, and you can't put the same breeds twice, right? And you can pick out your starting 11. You can pick out your shape, your system. I did that at a camp one day when it was pouring down rain and the director was freaking out. And I said, all right, just give me all the kids. So I put them in groups. We did team of dogs. They presented them, and it got them to interact and talk. And we talked about, well, why did you put a pit bull as a defensive midfielder? And so we talked about that. And I said, well, is there anything that could go wrong, right, about a pit bull, right? And well, they foul a lot, right, because they bite, right? So we talked about those things. Another one that I really love to do is a hula hoop, and everybody joins hands, and they got to figure out how to get the hula hoop from one end to all around the circle without letting go of their hands. That's a lot of fun. So
I've done that one before.
Have you? Okay, good. That's one of my favorites too. But well, thank you. Yeah, and Coach Barker, by the way, saying German Shepherd is a center back, and I've done it with dogs and I've done it with zoo animals. Right, so it's just something that's fun, that's light. I got a lot of them. I got a lot of team building activities I'd like to try and do. But there's one.
It's a really good question, Alex, because it's a really good question, because most of the good coaches, the training and the preparation, the field part of it is only a little bit. Those 2 sessions your dad was talking about, the 75 minutes, if that was all we did as coaches, it wouldn't be enough for you to be as successful as you can be on a Saturday against another team. So a lot of good coaches, it's a great question, are doing little things like that. And because of being locked down right now, right, I'm sure you've spoken to your coaches online and you've talking to the kids online. So for a lot of us, football is always like that. It's like, it's not just when you walk over the white line, it's kind of a lifestyle too. So it's a really good question.
Good. Well, thank you so much, Alex and Casey, Dad. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us. This has been really good, and just honestly very refreshing. So,
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time of your busy day, and appreciate it. Tomorrow we're going to have a Division I coach. His name's Ronnie Bowenbaugh. From Eastern Illinois University, who was just hired right before COVID. And it's like, oh. So we're going to talk to him. But anyway, Alex and Mr. Shafer, Dad, thank you so much. And we'll see everybody hopefully tomorrow. So
Thank you very much.
Hey, look at that. Look at that.
Bye, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
So much. Thank you.
Thank you.